virgin of the world of Hermes Mercurius Trismegistus. Part 2. O my illustrious son, if thou wilt know anything further, ask it of me. And Horus said, Revered mother, I would fain know how royal souls are born. And Isis answered, Herein, my son Horus, lies the distinctive character of royal souls. There are in the universe 4 regions, governed by a fixed and immutable law: heaven, the ether, the air, and the most holy earth. Above in heaven dwell the gods, ruled as are all the rest by the Maker of the universe. In the ether are the stars, governed by the great fire, the sun. In the air are the souls of the genii, governed by the moon. Upon earth are men and other animals governed by the soul who, for the time, is their king. For the gods themselves engender those who shall be kings, befitting the terrestrial race. Princes are the issue of kings, and he who is most kingly is a greater king than the rest. The sun, nearer to God than is the moon, is greater and stronger than she, and to him she is subject as much by rank as by power. The king is the last of the gods and the first of men. So long as he sojourns upon earth, his divinity is concealed, but he possesses something which distinguishes him from other men and approximates him to God. The soul in him comes from a loftier region than that from which descend the souls of common men, souls destined to reign upon the earth. Descend thither for 2 causes. There are those who in former lives have lived blameless and who merit apotheosis. For such as these, royalty is a preparation for the divine state. Again, there are holy souls who, for some slight infringement of the interior and divine law, receive in royalty a penance whereby the suffering and shame of incarnation are mitigated. The condition of these in taking a body resembles not that of others. They are as blessed as when they were free. As to the various characters of these kings, the variety is not in the souls, for all are royal, but it is due to the nature of the angels and genii who assist them, for souls destined to such offices are not without ministers and escort. Heavenly justice, even while exiling them from the abodes of the blessed, treats them as their nature befits. When then, O my son Horos, the ministering angels and genii appointed are warlike, the soul in their charge takes that character, forgetting its own, or rather laying it aside until some future change of condition. If the guardian angels are of a gentle order, then the soul follows its path in peace. If they are friends of judgment, the soul loves to judge. If they are musicians, then the soul sings. If they love truth, the soul is that of a philosopher. Thus, the souls necessarily follow the teaching of their guardians. Falling into human bodies, they forego their proper estate, and while exiled from it, they approximate to those intelligences by whom they have been embodied. Thine explanation is complete, my mother, said Horos, but thou hast not yet informed me in what manner noble souls are born. There are upon earth, O my son, different offices, so also is it among souls. They occupy different stations, and that soul which issues from a more exalted sphere is nobler than the rest, even as he who is free among men is nobler than the slave. Exalted and royal souls are necessarily the masters of men. How are souls born male or female? Souls, my son Horos, are all equal in nature, since they come from one region wherein the Creator has formed them. There are not among them either males or females. This distinction exists only between bodies, and not between incorporeal beings. But some are more energetic, some are gentler, and this belongs to the air in which all things are formed. For an airy body envelopes the soul. In it are the elements of earth, water, air, and fire. Among females, this combination contains more of cold and of moisture than of dryness and heat, and the soul which is enfolded therein is watery and disposed to softness. The contrary happens among males. Their envelope contains more of dryness and of heat, less of cold and of moisture. Hence, in bodies so formed, the soul souls of the wise. And Isis answered, the organ of vision is enveloped in tunics. When these tunics are thick and dense, the sight is dull. When they are fine and subtle, the sight is penetrating. Even so is it with the soul. She likewise has her coverings, incorporeal as herself. These coverings are the interior airs. When they are subtle, clear and transparent, then the soul is perspicuous. When, on the contrary, they are dense, thick, and turgid, then she cannot see far and discerns only, as though in cloudy weather, that which lies immediately before her steps. And Horos said, for what reason, my mother, are the minds of men who are not of our holy country less open than the minds of those who belong to it? And Isis replied, the earth is set in the midst of the universe, like a man lying on his back and gazing into heaven, and the various regions of earth correspond to the different members of the man. The earth turns her gaze towards heaven as towards her Father, following in her changes the changes of the skies. Her head lies to the south, her right shoulder to the east, her left is turned towards the Libyan wind, her feet are under the constellation of the bear, the right beneath the tail, and the left beneath the head of the bear. Her loins are under the regions of heaven nearest to the bear. The midst of her body is beneath the center of heaven. Behold, as a proof of these things, how they who dwell in the south have a beautiful countenance and plentiful hair, while the Orientals have hands hardy in conflict and ready with the bow, for they are right-handed. The Westerns are strong and fight with the left hand, attributing to the left side the functions which belong in others to the right. Those who dwell beneath the bear are distinguished by the attributes of their feet and by the beauty of their legs. Those who inhabit beyond the bear in the climate of Italy and of Greece are remarkable for the beauty of their loins, and hence their tendency to prefer males. This part of the body also, being whiter than the rest, produces men of a whiter hue. The hallowed region of our ancestors is in the midst of the earth, and since the midst of the human body This is why my son, the men of this land, beside the qualities which all men possess in common, have also a loftier intelligence and wisdom, because the heart of the earth brings them forth and nourishes them. Moreover, my son, the south is the storehouse of the clouds. It is there they assemble, and thence, it is said, flows our river, Nile. When the cold becomes abundant, now where the clouds descend, the air grows thick and is filled with vapors which spread themselves as a veil not only over the sight, but over the intelligence. The east, my son Horus, is continually disturbed and glowing under the sunrise, as is the west under the sunset. Therefore, they who dwell in these regions can hardly preserve a clear perception. The north, by means of its icy temperature, thickens the mind, even as it does the body. The central land alone, clear and serene, is favored, as are those who inhabit her. She brings forth in a perpetual tranquility. She adorns and completes her offspring. She contends alone against all others. She triumphs, and like a worthy ruler, partakes with the vanquished the fruits of victory. Explain to me further, my august mother, what it is that causes in living men during long maladies an alteration of discernment, of reason, even of the soul itself. And Isis answered, among animals there are those who have affinity with fire, others with water, others with earth, others with air, others again with 2 or 3 elements, or with all the 4, or inversely, some have an antipathy for fire, some for water, some for earth, some for air, or again for 2, and sojourn in its vicinity. There are even certain creatures who disport themselves in the fire. Such are the salamanders who have their abode in it. The elements enfold the body, and every soul inhabiting a body is weighed down and enchained by the four elements. Wherefore, it is natural that the soul should have affinity with certain elements and aversion for others, for which reason she cannot enjoy perfect happiness. Nevertheless, as the soul is of divine origin, she struggles and meditates even beneath this bodily covering, but her thoughts are not what they would be if she were free from the body, and if the body be disturbed and troubled by sickness or by terror, the soul herself is tossed about like a man in the midst of tempestuous waves.